a punitive amount of logos. Movie follows James Cameron's footsteps and goes with the papyrus font, which guarantees I will pay even less attention than normal to the opening credits. Frequent Neil LaBute actor Aaron Eckhart makes a cameo appearance in this movie, but hasn't acted in another LaBute project since. I'm going to form a huge correlation-causation opinion here and just assume the Wicker Man was that toxic. No one will be seated during the exciting Nicolas Cage grabs a doll off the road as he speeds past it scene. Where the hell did this truck come from? We see Officer Nicolas Cage walking calmly to the side of the street where that truck was surely visible, but it comes crashing through like it was conceived by the Heart of Gold's infinite improbability drive. I'll admit this crash looks horrific, but sudden fire emergency? This opening scene was pretty much pointless, right? Does it have shit to do with shit? I'll keep watching, I guess.
I heard about your commendation.
For fucking what? There was a wreck and nobody survived or even existed, as we're about to find out, but this guy's getting a commendation?
So they still never found the bodies from that car, right?
Why do movies do this? Skip over a whole bunch of interesting stuff to go straight to the reclusive, depressed detective who just needs a little time off? We hear about no bodies in the car, but we don't make any discoveries that make us active viewers.
I didn't want to hurt you any more than I did. Now I must.
And then the plot is propelled through letter narration reading. Man, I'm actually longing for a huge mysterious truck to just ram into Edward's house right now. It wouldn't make sense, but it would be awesome. His modern wife wrote him a letter, but did so with her great-great-grandmother's handwriting, for some reason.
She has been missing for 2 weeks now.
You might notice she looks exactly like the girl you let die in the car crash earlier.
The plot thickens. Didn't even know you had a plot.
This character is way too aware of this movie's shortcomings.
Summer's Isle.
I'm glad Edward bothered visiting this friend character / stick figure, because he weaves a rich tapestry. These must be his stop seeing horrific visions pills. Mommy, do non-blonde people go to heaven? Of course not, sweetie. Now pose for this stock photo.
Mr. Grant here and his twin brother Ulysses.
I didn't want to take you there because I didn't want to lose my business with Summer's Isle, but I guess $150 is enough to completely reverse my position.
And you're that officer from California?
Are the women supposed to represent bees here? Like they have a hive mind or something? How the f*** does this woman know who he is already? And why doesn't he ask her how she knows that? Edward drinks one glass of island mead and suddenly feels the need to disrupt this entire bar and announce why he's here like some sort of hard-ass. Like the whole island is definitely guilty. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to disagree with his fate in this movie. Be murdered. This will become important later.
There is a place out beyond the point. Meet me there in an hour.
This girl's note couldn't be more vague if it tried. There's a spot nearby, that one thing. Meet me there in a while. Cool? By the way, this actress filled a weird actor stereotype in the mid-2000s, where she always played in someone's daughter is missing movies like Flight Plan. Actually, I think it's just 2 movies, but that still works as a sin or something.
I'm gonna need to ask you some questions.
Willow writes a note, tells Edward to come out to this secret place, and he learns absolutely nothing. Ah, this cop travels with EpiPens. Is that lazy character information or haphazard plot development? Does it matter?
Yes, of the Wicker Man's return.
Roll credits. The director said, carry a whole basket full of apples and eat one of them. It'll make you look like even more of an asshole.
Did someone unpack my bag because I'm missing some tapes?
People who live here decide to steal Edward's self-help tapes for some dumbass reason. Edward flashes back to an entirely meaningless moment on the boat where he realized that blonde ambition over here wasn't the girl who died in the crash at the beginning of the movie, or was the missing girl he was looking for. This is a flashback of a dream of something that happened to an entirely different girl. Holy shit, this movie. In this part of the flashback, Edward turns his head and suddenly the people in the car are gone. I wonder if he'll also remember putting crash test dummies in the car before he went to get the doll, because that would be certifiably insane. These are some ridiculously well-lit woods for 1 o'clock in the morning on an essentially Amish island.
Rowan?
Ah, the audience sees the bugaboo run by in the dark while the main character only hears it cliché. It's a jump scare staple. Because nothing is happening, it's almost guaranteed he falls through the floor. And Edward decided not to look any further that night and just went to bed dreaming of trucks crashing into girls. No self-respecting restaurant would put a honey bear this empty on a table where actual customers are going to sit. Fill that shit up, waiter. And of course he wants some honey in his tea, so we get the comically overblown scene of him waiting for the f***ing tiny amount of honey to run down the container walls.
Our crop was cursed last year.
Believing in curses, and furthermore, believing in crop-based curses. Also, Lily Sobieski is playing the same expositional role here she played in Eyes Wide Shut, only with clothes on. He only just now notices this creepy wall of similar pictures. Whoever broke this frame is doing way more work than should be necessary to create intrigue and keep this asshole on the island.
No, I mean tomorrow. What's happening here then?
I told you.
You did?
The guy we saw yelling in a bar a few minutes ago about a missing girl sure doesn't like asking follow-up questions when people are being mysterious assholes. Okay, so this movie is a real-life version of The Village, only without the creepy monster red herring. Gotcha.
Phallic symbol, phallic symbol.
Well, little girls saying this in any context is not okay, so I'm going to add 50 sins just to cover myself legally.
I'm Edward Malis from California.
Malice, as in male, if you didn't get it. Also, they use that mal, which means bad in Sanskrit or whatever language that is, just to confuse the whole movie with more subtlety. Edward erases this chalkboard without permission, also he can write the missing girl's really simple name on it.
If she existed, we would know of her.
Again, another weird thing somebody says that Edward does not follow up on. If she existed, the photography clearly proves she did. If she existed is what a person in a cult of man-hating women would say.
Whose desk is this?
Instead of saying it's a spare, the teacher looks away guiltily so that both Nick Cage and the audience know Rowan was here at one point. What? That's a bird in a desk right there.
We trapped the little old bird inside to see how long he can stand it.
Unlike most birds, it somehow managed to stay quiet and not kill itself trying to get out, so it could be a jump scare dick.
Do you have Sister Summerisle's authority?
No!
This guy doesn't even do the most basic of detective work. Everyone's been mentioning this Sister Summersisle, and Edward just plain ain't interested in finding out who she is or talking to her. And maybe she's got some answers, who knows?
You tell me another and I'll rescue myself. That is a promise, Miss.
Rose. Sister Rose.
Of course. Another plant. Rose.
This Cage performance. What's funny is this is a former motorcycle cop who takes a lot of drugs, has never made detective, and is way out of his jurisdiction, asking questions in a place where detectives are never seen and where the people have an Obi-Wan way of looking at things, a certain infuriating point of view. I've got an idea. Maybe this movie is a work of genius, but it's nearly impossible to enjoy on anything but a campy level because the main character never acts like a human being.
I told you that if Rowan Woodward existed, we would know of her.
But am I going to explain this point of view? Hell no. You gotta guess what we mean, motherfucker.
She's dead or she isn't.
We never use that word here.
No, that'd be too quixotic.
It really, really isn't. But if you look at this movie in the way I'm currently looking at it, this is a drugged-out motorcycle cop who thinks he's getting a good zinger in, which Sister Rose simply lets him relish.
How'd she die?
She'll burn to death.
How in the world did these people become such expert practical jokers in the way they speak? This can't be a simple misstep, right? They're all f***ing with him on a nuclear level, but it's almost improvised. Using the same actress in different roles to imply incest cliché. And now I feel dirty just having said that.
Hey, didn't I just speak with you? Miss Rose, Sister Rose?
No, you didn't.
And again, no need to follow that up. Not even, are you her twin sister? This guy takes some f***ing amazing drugs.
But they put it there, I didn't.
Who's that?
Exactly. Willow uses the pronoun game here so that Edward has to ask who the f*** they means. But you know what? I'm beginning to wonder if this woman even exists. She apparently lives on this island in this commune, but hasn't given Edward dick so far as information is concerned. Not that he's going to ask the right questions anyway.
I don't know, whoever's doing this, trying to make...
Well, thanks! You know, it's not a mystery just because the movie gives me one tiny fact at a time. It's a mystery because I get a mysterious and unknown feeling, which you cannot recreate with dialogue fragments and a walk-off. That shit ain't creepy, it's just annoying.
Sister Summersisle has never been very fond of my wild ways.
Yeah, that name keeps coming up.
Almost as though it's important.
I'm lost.
Character tells everyone in the audience exactly what they're feeling.
You're telling me I'm Rowan's father?
This information could easily have been given earlier, but I will not be suspicious of it at all.
So this is where you last saw Rowan?
It only took 3 days, but Edward finally asks this question. This chick looks like 22 tops. I'm not judging. Age ain't nothing but a number, but he's gotta be like 3 times her age, no? And they have a school-age daughter, too. Child draws disturbing shit in a horror movie cliche. And wow, thank God she used her desk instead of paper.
Rowan!
It's the airplane delivery guy, but damned if I know how this cult of man-eaters managed to kill the guy, stuff him down onto the dock, and leave the area before Edward ran down here. The unreliable main character's POV continues to say, F*** you to the audience. It's a dream fake-out within a dream fake-out. There are no words to describe the F*** you feelings I currently have for this movie. Taking pills without water or other beverage. On Creepy Island, this cop decides to remove his gun and ID before swimming over to a water plane. I guess the gun makes sense, water and all, but your badge? They also managed to destroy the pilot's radio in the amount of time it took Edward to run down here. Edward continues to believe this means something to these people. Also, he decided to go to someone else first rather than the freaking queen bee of this island. Again.
Thanks.
Thanks? Is that all? You're going to ask about getting a duplicate picture and that's it? You have nothing else on your mind at all? Any asshole could easily see Edward here, but I'm pretty sure he thinks this is a great hiding place. If it's straight and metal, it will definitely open any door. Having seen the skills Edward has displayed so far in this movie, it's a miracle this works.
Why didn't you tell me Rowan was a part of all this? Huh? The rituals.
I don't know.
Movie attempts and succeeds in making you unreasonably angry at the words I don't know.
Look, I'm trying to trust you here, but every time I turn my head, there's something that doesn't make any sense.
Movie speaks the audience members' concerns for them. Yes, there's definitely time for this. What the hell is this scene? Is this just more proof that Edward is a failure in everything he does? Why did he even bother helping? Didn't he just f***ing offer to help load the logs, and then the logs fell after he helped and now he's leaving? They were better off before he ever showed up, f***ing dick. No velociraptors eat him in this scene. This field of beekeeping stuff is set up in the same hexagonal shape as a beehive. In some movies, that'd be worth a sin removal for synergy. In this movie, it's worth 10 sins added for pounding me over the head. Jesus Christ, this is a pretty open field. How does he keep running into shit and falling down? Listen, if he's allergic to bee stings, he's dead already. If not, then this is a big waste of time. So what's it gonna be, movie? This guy only dreams about trucks hitting little girls.
This is the home of Sister Summer's Isle.
Jesus, finally.
Did you use my kit? The adrenaline shot, or?
Oh, no. So I treated the danger in the old way.
Leeches? Is it leeches?
And she's been expecting you.
Well, duh. He's been snooping around this island for like days now. The women of this island stole his f***ing self-help tapes, but not his gun. Guy who was afraid of bees doesn't seem all that concerned about hundreds of bees swarming the area.
To the great mother goddess who rules this island.
Well, I would have guessed that was you, and I'm surprised to learn it's not you. This is still some vague-ass bullshit.
My Celtic ancestors, all the way back, rebelled against the suppression of the feminine.
All the clues you've seen so far point to you needing to get the f*** off this island, but you're a serial ignorer.
Now, do I have permission to open the grave of Rowan Woodward?
You didn't, but what I'm wondering about is why is it super day outside when she grants him permission, but he waits until scary-ass night to do this?
Rowan?
Why does every little sound have to be Rowan?
Rowan?
Calling out to daughter who, even if she isn't in her own grave, is probably still dead. Since we know Rowan isn't dead, did they know he'd go this far to find a sweater that was obviously planted for him to find? Legitimately waiting for Danny DeVito's penguin to show up any minute. This guy actually thinks the crying he heard a minute ago, which was super close to him, would now be this far away from him. Luckily, this water is lit from within by, I guess, algae? I'm going with algae.
Help!
Seconds after seeing someone sabotage this exit, this idiot calls for help, as though anyone but those who f***ed him could currently be in earshot. Dark clouds overtaking current light source is one of the oldest metaphorical tricks in the book, yo. I don't even know why he bothers to flash back, when these things are already filled with misinformation and reconstructed untruths. What the f***? Sniffing the possibly dead daughter's sweater days after her capture, and at least 24 hours after its submersion into that prison pit pool? That's f***ed up.
Is this hers? Tell me!
At this point, I'm actually with Nicolas Cage on this. This has got to be the most frustrating investigation ever, even though he's bad at it.
How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned?
I don't know!
I mean, out of context, the performance is super crazy. And it is kind of crazy, but goddamn, nobody knows or tells this guy shit the entire movie.
Summer's Isle! Summer's Isle!
Summer's Isle is a comically stupid name, and we're about to hear it about 435 times in this scene alone. We know Edward isn't hallucinating this because the girl doesn't get hit by a truck. Wait, did they know he was coming to the house so they could set up this practical joke? Long after arriving here, this cop finally decides to do a house-by-house search to find out where on Creepy Island this girl is being hidden. Discount Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Did you see to that business at the harbor?
The business that took place 3 days ago? Sure. You can't watch this scene without laughing, especially since the movie shows Edward walking towards her for 16 full seconds before he unleashes this punch. She doesn't really deserve it, especially since he has very little proof of anything anyone's actually done in this movie. But damn if you don't feel like $1 million when he does it anyway. Oh yeah, and the cherries on top? But it is violence towards women, so we're gonna have to add 50 more sins for that. You can see the bind we're in.
Oh, goddess of the fields!
Well, if any of this shit had happened earlier in the film would be a lot shorter, I guess. But as a viewer, I still feel kind of jerked around on this one. Jesus, how f***ing big is Creepy Island anyway? I thought it was small and shit. Yes, let's follow the little girl young enough to be following her imaginary friend's directions right now. Somehow, this little girl gets a giant lead on Edward by the time we find out she's just led him into a trap. Also, this whole movie was a giant ruse to get him to the island so they could sacrifice him. But the way they did it was so freaking stupid. The letter he got didn't even state the daughter was his, and left it completely up to chance that he would go through all this bullshit to save this girl. Did they set up the car crash at the beginning of the movie so he'd feel like he needed to save someone? And also, if they did this in order to get him here, why did they even bother killing the airplane delivery guy? Didn't he do exactly what was needed to make this plan work? For f***'s sake.
We orchestrated all of this with the greatest care, everything that's happened.
Even that small moment when you weren't looking and I smelled the sweater like it was important to me. You can't put on a good ruse unless you do it at all times, even when you think no one's looking.
This is a story whose chapters were carefully written.
God damn it, there's no way the cop and the two people who were in the car crash managed to be part of this plot at all. Who hit them with the truck? How did they get out of the car before it got hit without Edward seeing them? Why did this cop decide to work for the police force for years just so she could deliver a letter to Edward? Also, this is a plan that requires 100 things to go right in order to work. But it's masterful, no? By the way, Edward witnessed this nonsense earlier in the movie, and the sacrifice was supposed to take place the day of tomorrow, which is never explained. But wasn't he here like a fucking week after that? As always, whenever someone takes bullets out of a gun, they've been secretly holding them the entire time for a dramatic reveal. Also, when the f*** did she manage to do that?
This is murder! Murder! You'll all be guilty!
Impotent accusations.
Killing me won't bring back your goddamn honey!
Oh yeah, that's another thing. All of this is to keep up that sweet, sweet honey harvest that no doubt brings in enough dough and sustains the entire community. The bringing back the honey ritual of killing this dude first requires the public breaking of his knees, because of course. Seriously, if you broke both my knees while I was subdued and in custody, I'd probably die of sorrow, or at least the feeling of uselessness.
What is that? What is that? What is it?
Man, you are the most annoying person I have ever seen getting tortured in a movie.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees!
Not the bees. And oh yeah, forgot to mention, this is the story of a man who is allergic to bees, who needs to find a missing girl. Missing girl just happens to be on an island full of bees. Poetry.
Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah!
Sure, okay, but now they're also in your mouth after all that screaming. These CGI bees are almost as bad as the CGI birds in Birdemic. Did they open this blanket just so that he could see where they were taking him? God damn, this society forces the daughter of the accused to light the fuse to his or her death. Ruthless.
No!
Nicolas Cage. How the f did she get here in time after getting knocked the f out? Also, why did she ask Edward to take her with him when he left the island? Is that just more bull to make him feel like the island was evil? There was no point in that. No, seriously, that's the end. I know, right? What bullshit this movie is. Also, so they somehow tricked him into f***ing this one girl, impregnating her with this other girl, who they then pretended was missing. Also, they could stab this guy with 1,000 bees and burn him to death. Do I have that right? For Johnny Ramone? For f***'s sake, why?
A powerful tidal wave in Kuala Lumpur has killed 120 people.
¡Ay, Chihuahua! ¡Ay, ay, ay! ¡No me gusta!
Bad bees! Bad! Ow! Ow!
Story goes that he'll be normal during the day, but at night, in the presence of evil, the rider takes over.
Dear Madam, I have been shown in the files of the War Department a statement of the Adjutant General of Massachusetts that you are the mother of 5 sons who have died gloriously on the field of battle.
So love me like you do, la la, love me like you do, love me.
Bees! Bees in the car! Bees everywhere! God, they're huge! They're ripping my flesh off! What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole?
The legend writ, the stain affected, the key in silence undetected.
I called Mr. Fox when your condition worsened after the first day.
I analyzed your blood, isolating the receptor compounds and the protein-based catalyst.
I can tell what she sees in you. What kind of rough potential.
Thanks, I guess.
Not too bright, though.